This is Sue, and welcome to my journey with Parkinson's. This is Reimagining my present and future. So I read a really interesting post on a Facebook page that I'm a member of, and it is the Australia and New Zealand's Parkinson's sort of chat group, which is on Facebook, and people write in and talk about what's happening with their Parkinson's, obviously. That's why it's a Parkinson's page. And just talking about how they are finding things. And one guy in particular, when I read what he said, it made a heck of a lot of sense. And it was about not trying to get back to where we were, because maybe for any of us, with or without Parkinson's, it's perhaps unrealistic for a lot of us that we're ever going to get back to where we were 15, 20 years ago. And it's funny, when I talk to my husband, and we used to go walking in the Port Hills in Christchurch here, and we would walk for 4 to 6 hours, and not that I didn't think anything of it, but I managed it quite well. I was tired, but I could do it. And I have kept saying to him, do you think I'll ever get back to walking in the Port Hills? And he would look at me and go, well, I'm not sure, maybe. And I think you can sense when your husband says something like that perhaps that's the response because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So 20 years ago, I was bound to be able to do a lot more things than I can do now, even with having Parkinson's. And so is it realistic for those of us with Parkinson's to yearn for those days pre-diagnosis, and even without the diagnosis, to yearn for things that we could do when we were 40 and now we're in our 60s? It is just unrealistic. So he talks about basically working with what we've got now and basically celebrating the things that we can do. I'm happy that I can bake, I can swim, I can spend time with people, and I can still contribute to the world around me. I have taken great pains to actually be more of a, more of a sociable person. I've never really been that sociable. I've always been quite shy, and I've always been a bit put off by the fear that if I ask somebody if they want to have a coffee with me or do something with me, that they might reject me. I've never had a great circle of friends, so I have this inbuilt fear that if I ask somebody for coffee and they rebuff me, that will hurt. So I took a big risk when we first came here, and I've been going to the pool locally and doing some aqua jogging and doing some lengths as well. And one day, way back now, could have even been a year ago, I was chatting to one of the ladies that I'd got friendly with, and I said, hey, would you like to catch a coffee sometime out of here? And she said, yeah, that'd be lovely, I would love to. So that was the beginning. And there's another lady there that was also a friend of that same lady, and so we organised to have coffee together, and it was lovely. I started to feel like, hey, maybe I could have some friends, maybe I could have some more social interaction. So that's something that I hadn't had all the time I'd been in Christchurch. Oh gosh, I really haven't had any friends as such for 20, 30 years. There's just been myself and my husband and my kids, and I just haven't had that social circle. So Parkinson's has given me a bit more grit and determination to make the most of what I've got, to make sure that I have social connections. And those are very important. A lonely person is oftentimes not a very healthy person. They could suffer from depression, apathy, and having that opportunity to be social is so important as we age. See, thoughts come into my head, and if I don't capture them on a recording or if I don't capture them on paper, they seem to flit through my brain and out again. And my brain can sometimes not be that great at retaining this information. But one of the very good things about having Parkinson's and knowing that there's going to be some changes along the way is trying to look at ways to manage that so that it is not going to make my life any more difficult than it needs to be. Now, I was thinking, I know that apathy can be something that is really common for people with Parkinson's, and I don't think I have it, but I do have a I can't be bothered mode that I slip into every now and again. It's like My husband doesn't really like me wearing makeup. Bless him, he says it's because I'm gorgeous already and don't need to have any, which is sweet. But every now and again, when we're going out or when I'm with my gorgeous granddaughters or my gorgeous daughter, I will wear makeup. And he always says I don't need it. But I think back to years ago when my grandchildren were young, and I came down the stairs and they were staying with us, and we were about to go out. I came down the stairs and very naively said to the girls, "Does Nana need any makeup?" And they all looked me up and down and said, "Yes." And I said, "Shall I go put some on?" And they said, "Yes." And I walked up the stairs with my lip dropped and thought, I thought they'd say the same thing that Grampy did, that I don't need it because I'm already beautiful. But hey-ho. They were only small children, but it did knock me back a little bit. So, yeah, it's not that I'm not bothered by my appearance, it's just that I don't really care so much what people think of me anymore. And I'm not that bothered. If I feel like putting makeup on, I'll put makeup on. If I don't, then I won't. If I'm going to bowls and I'm going to be out in the sunshine, sometimes it's blustery, sometimes it's just a little bit windy. But, if it's going to be cold, I'll put a beanie on. That messes with my hair. If it's going to be hot, I'll put my bucket hat on. And that messes with my hair. So what is the point? There is no point in doing my hair to go to bowls to mess it up anyway. And I have curls, and curls are, the thing. You can have messy curls, whereas if you've got short hair, maybe you can't. So I think I've got less concerned about what people think of me. I don't think that makes me apathetic. I think that just makes me stronger, because I think when you have something like Parkinson's and it's a big deal, you soon learn what is and what isn't important. I don't care if people think my hair looks a mess, really. In the past, I would have cared a lot, but I don't care anymore. I just, if I feel okay, if I'm comfortable in what I'm wearing, if I'm comfortable in how I'm looking, then it doesn't matter what all the others who might view me might say. So, Parkinson's has given me the strength to be able to see what is important and what isn't. When my husband and I went overseas recently, we would be out doing things together, and then we'd get to a point where he'd be thinking of having a longer walk. And because I'm still recovering from this back operation, I sometimes or often wasn't really up for it. Even though I would have liked to have gone in theory, in practice, it was just too much for me. So I got really good at saying to him, "Look, I'll sit on this bench while you have a look around these gardens if we're at a stately home, or if we'd been out and about and he thought he'd go for a nice long walk." I'd say, "Look, I'm going to go back to our room and read a book, and you just do what you want to do. Go for a nice walk. I'm absolutely fine. I'm going to have a rest and read my book." So rather than trying to do things that are tough for me, I'm open and honest and just say to him, "Hey, I don't think I can do that today." And I may never be able to be the companion that I was when it comes to walking, but I hope to be the companion that I am in the way that I can now and still enjoy doing things together. And he's always said to me that I need to be honest. When we've gone walking in the hills before now, he has always said, "You need to tell me if you're not coping, if this is getting too much, if you need to sit down or you need to turn around." And so I am trying really hard to do that. That's another thing. One of the things we've often said is when people look at going for a walk, there is perhaps for some people a tendency to think, "Yes, I can walk from there to there. It's only going to take me half an hour," when they know that their tolerance is half an hour. But what people forget sometimes is that whatever distance you travel, double it, because you have to come back again most times. So that's a really valuable lesson, because you can talk to somebody and they can say, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And say, "Yeah, that'd be lovely. What are we going to do?" "We're just going to go for a walk on the beach." "And how long does that take?" And they might say an hour, and you think, "Oh, that's all right, you go for walking for an hour." But they might mean it's an hour there, and then therefore it's an hour back. And if you're not prepared for that, it could get a little sticky. So I think, yeah, honesty is something that I've got from Parkinson's. The fact that I am honest with myself and that I know what I can and can't do is really important. That I'm not shy about saying, hey, honey, I'd love to come and do that with you, but it's just not something that I can manage at the moment. And maybe, some of the things that I've been wanting to get back to, maybe I have to accept that I can't get back to them and find different things that I can do with my husband and by myself and with other people. I'm building a social network at the moment through my cards, through my playing a game called Rummy Cub, through my bowls, through my swimming, building up that social network, which is something that Parkinson's has given me, because without Parkinson's, I don't think I would have had the guts to actually put myself forward, because I am quite shy in a lot of ways. And so with Parkinson's, I just think we need a social network, we need a support system. And if I don't reach out and try and help myself to have that support system, it's just not going to happen. So it has made a very determined woman even more determined, because I know what I need, I know what we need. And that's an important realisation to come to. So, yeah, the lesson in reading that article this morning about not harking back to where you were, but being realistic and aiming for something that is achievable, moving forward. And we are moving forward with life. Nobody stagnates, nobody stays in the same place forever. So it is important that we learn what we can do, learn how much we can improve on whatever we can do, how much we just need to try and maintain, and how much we need to let go. Because, there's a bit of all of that. The letting go, the maintenance, and the striving for something more are the important things, I think. But to hark back to what we could do 20, 30 years ago, who in their right mind could consider that they could actually perform at that level 20, 30 years ago when you're in your 60s? It's not going to be a happening thing, is it? So yeah, the article was really impressive, and there are things that Parkinson's has given me. My poetry seems to be better, it's easier to write, but I haven't written any for a bit, so I'm going to have to look for some inspiration and write something soon, I think, because my poetry is usually light-hearted, but it helps me get to grips with things sometimes, that I put them into a poem, and it helps other people understand where I'm coming from, I think. So yeah, my thinking is in line with this guy whose post I read on Facebook. I'm going to stop trying to harken back to where I was. I'm going to try to acknowledge where I am and be honest with myself about where I can feasibly get to with everything that's happening with my body. And that's okay. Being real means I'm setting sensible goals, achievable goals, rather than aiming for stuff that is so last decade that this decade I need to get doing things before I've decayed. So yeah, looking forward, moving forward, and being positive, but also being realistic is my message for the day. So this has been Sue for My Journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.